dishes in some of the dishes that he produces.
Currently making some fish bowls and platters. I've, after moving up this way from southern Utah, started doing fish. They're beautiful. While I was in Utah, I was doing a little bit more primitive art. You can't help it. There's a lot of natural clay bodies that are around the area, and everywhere you walk, you're bumping into either arrowheads, pottery shards, or also petroglyphs. For a long time, I was doing the petroglyphs, and still am. And I'll show you some of those in a moment here. Fish are nice. This will be fired out. It'll have a transparent glaze over it, so it'll be pure white. The body of the fish will be blue, highlighted with some of these mauve fins and red fins. And I'll give you an example of some of the finished products here in a moment. But this is what I've been doing here lately on the point. And, oh, thank you, Evelyn.
One like that.
Yeah, here we go. This gives you an idea of some of the almost finished pieces. It's been fired once. Going to do some highlighting with some textures on it, so we'll see where this comes out. And if you want, we can go over and step over and see some earlier work. Here's some earlier work. This was using some natural clay bodies throughout central Utah. As you can see, it started having some blowouts up here, but that was some of the distinct characteristics of the clay body. I was doing some spirit figures. These are off some walls and canyons down in central Utah, and pretty archaic, real thick, and probably one of my favorite pieces. Then still using the natural clay bodies, doing some burnishing, some pit firings, similar to what they did hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And actually some of the New Mexican potters, Native Americans, are still doing these techniques, and quite successfully too. Getting a little bit more tighter with the designs, my wife Marilyn and I started doing some of these after some of the pots that were finding archaeological finds throughout the northern Arizona and southern Utah area. Quite nice. These have a lot of geometric and concentric designs. We had a lot of fun with these. Again, we have the spirit figure here, and some of the background of plateaus and buttes and mesas, so I incorporated with. Still holding on to these spirit figures. They've the petroglyphs and pictographs also are up here in the Galiano Island, off Vancouver Island. Pictographs are up the Stein Valley, which are quite beautiful, and hopefully they will stay that way. There's a lot of vandalism throughout the country, and with the antiquity laws as they are now, hopefully they can be enforced. I'll show you around the studio. It's small but sweet. We've got the potter's wheels over here, and some of the goods that I'm doing these days, more fish in their unfired state, and also some finished product. I'm displaying the clay work, recently at the South Beach House restaurant in Point Roberts, where I'm there a few days a week. So the pieces of work scattered throughout the restaurant on the walls and on shelves are mine, so enjoy. Now this is my kiln god. Yeah. Now this keeps away evil spirits, because there's many different scenarios of kiln accidents, from shelves breaking, oh yeah, and then everything collapsing on each other, and creating one huge art piece. But
Right.
yeah, so other than that, the Kiln God, actually, the one I made here, some are a little bit scarier, but the one I have here is actually keeps them in stitches so they really can't get in here. So it's a funny one.
When did you switch from the ceramic work to glass? This is one of your glass works, Rock of Ages. That.
Well, after coming up to the Northwest, I was missing some of the petroglyphs, and so I wanted another medium to work with. So I started looking at glass. I wanted to put the spirits in glass trays to be able to be served. So as I started researching, I came across the Andretti Glass Studios in Vancouver, and they welcomed me with open arms and with new stimuli, and also we started experimenting with different materials and in colors of glass, and came across quite a successful few pieces. And as that carried on, we ended up sending them out to different galleries throughout, and they're doing quite well.
At the Vancouver studio, here is Ted Jolta. And could you tell us a little bit about the glass artist here and your collaboration with Rafael?
Okay, I'd be happy to. My partner, Joanna Andrighetti, and I own Andrighetti Glassworks here on West 2nd. We started it in late 88, December of 88, we set up here. And we've been working with artists from all over, including Rafael. We like working with other people because it brings to mind new aesthetics, new ideas that we personally would not work with. Rafael, growing up in Utah, is very close to these pieces, so it was a very natural collaboration to do his designs on our glass. So it just brings a synthesis to the work that makes the work so much better than the original, or than any one of us could do by ourselves.
Primarily, I designed the pieces and helped Ted in the lip wraps and other parts of the collaboration. As you can see from the work, it's been turning out real well. There hasn't been any problems at all as far as jumping right in, and the group here has been great.
We tend to work more almost by committee or consensus, actually, which the good glass, everyone can work pretty much by themselves on smaller pieces like we have around the studio. But for a larger, more complicated piece, you can get 2, 3, 4, 5, a dozen people working all on the same piece. The most we've ever had here working on any one piece was about 7 people. It's a very complicated thing. With Rafael, I know the glass fairly well and the tricks, so he tells me his idea, what he wants to do, what he wants to accomplish, and I show him, I pull out the tricks out of my trick bag, as it were, to get the effect that is desired. And then whoever else is in the studio, it could be Morna Tudor or her husband Gary Bolt, my partner Joanne, or Lisa Chapman. They will all be called upon at different stages, help, we need this, and they'll come running in. And then when in the final shaping, you'll see me ask Rafael, is this right? What do you want? Do you want more? And we discuss the final form as it takes while we're working it, so that when we reach what I tend to yell out the term consensus, and everyone goes bigger, smaller, wider, whatever. And then when it's right, and everyone goes, yeah, it's a beauty, then it goes away and we're done. So it's a group effort more, which again makes the piece so much more than any one of us could make.
This is a stringer, or what's called cane. It's glass color. Ted just has heated it up and pulled it down the road, almost like a fiber optic material. And what we're doing now is breaking it off, and so we can start using it as pieces of glass that will be on the actual piece. We're going to be busting up some more of this cane and spreading it out through here to try to give some different textures. This will all melt in because this is glass also. All the powders and crushed glass on here are called frits and powders, and they're different types of glass that have been pulverized in different colors, which will all give some different kind of texture to the composition. We'll be putting another material on here, which is, this is called frit. It's crushed up glass. Little red pieces in here, and also some other colors that'll give iridescence, and depending on the type of firing, or actually reduction, it's called a reduction. We reduce the oxygen to the atmosphere once we're finished with this, and which pulls out different oxides out of the glass and creates different effects. The figures are copper, cut out of a big sheet, and these are depictions of the Anasazi Fremont culture's petroglyphs of the barrier reef in central Utah. And as we start blowing the vessel out in glass, the oxides will actually leach off the copper and spread themselves on the glass. And each time we blow it bigger, you'll see a different blow mark, which is almost like the tree rings, which gives an aura effect, almost an angelic quality, which has been real nice for these pieces. We'll get that nice and hot, so when we bring the glass to collect those up and roll those over, they'll actually have a compatibility, and they'll actually roll right up with it. So we'll measure the pie. Our digital control. It controls all the annealing kilns. It's computerized. Once we set one of these pieces into the, once we finish it up and we set it inside the annealing kiln, we program it to fire it down, because if not, it'll go through thermal stresses and actually crack. The glass is all melted into a huge vat in here. It's called a tank, and it's in Fahrenheit, I believe it's 2,300 degrees. So it's a real nice texture. This is our color selection. There's numerous different colors here. This is yellow, the reds. Sometimes even though they have the color it looks like here, doesn't necessarily mean all the time that it is. So this is what we start off with. This will be the interior color of the spirit vessels. And we heat those up and get them, so they won't go through a thermal stress when we put it into the glory hole and actually collect glass around them. Now, as you can see, the color has been surrounded by transparent glass. Nice and toasty. Ted's marvering it up right now and getting the shape going. We'll do this a number of times until we get the right amount of glass to go in between the calipers. Keeping the shape of the glass at the start is important because it gives a good foundation of a good gather of glass. Current temperature in the studio is around 28 degrees right now. It gets a lot hotter during the summer. Well, Ted's getting another gather. Like I said, we'll be getting enough glass on this to get in between the calipers. He's actually rolling in it on a piece of metal, steel, and it's called a Marver table. It takes the heat out of the glass. And also helps in shaping it.
You could wax poetic about the dance. You have to always be moving with glass.
That's right, there's a dance to this. Harmony. Harmony is important. And plus a nice plie. The glass right now probably weighs around, what are we looking at? Right on the
6-7 pounds.
And when you get enough of it on the end of a pipe, 5 feet away from you, it adds to the weight. Piece of paper in his hand is soaking wet. Globe and mail. It is a small one, isn't it, Ted?
On the really big pieces, we use some that are really big. We take one more gathering. That gets real exciting.
we're looking at how many pounds?
Oh, about 23, 24 pounds.
23, 24 pounds.
About 10 kilos.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, just a moment here. We're going to bring this right over here, and we're going to put on the powders. That's the exterior color.
Calm down. Think of them as something friendly, like snakes staring at you. That's it. Right up the top. Okay, I'm gonna heat it in the back.
Now we've just, we're trying another exterior texture. This is some more powders and Fritz. We just picked up the copper off the hot marble, and we're going to start scraping it off and start blowing it out. Okay, that's going in here. So yeah. Wondering.
I was wondering. Whoa, wrap, please. Don't. I know you want to see what it is. So this is the mark that I'm making. It's called a jag mark. This is where I'm, this is going to be the top of the piece, the mouth eventually. So just make it now. Once again, and come back and do the same thing.
So each time these Ted blows these things out here, you can actually see the history of the copper. It'll, like ringlets on a tree rings. You can actually see the expansion of the piece right now, and around the figures is what we call it an aura of some sort. And that's the coppers bleeding off the actual copper pieces.
Yeah. I'm flat at the bottom, yeah. This is gonna be a sweetheart. Okay, stop. Okay, Raph, I'll flash it. Can you bring me the first bit over here? Hold it down.
What?
Yeah, that's good. Stick it on center. I can't see it. this is just a little bit of glass on the bottom. Because I'm going to transfer it over to a putty rod, and this gives me a little extra thickness on the bottom. If I use the putty too well, you'll see that in a sec. It could fuse onto the bottom and then take a chunk out, like a hole. And then we have a lampshade, which is what we really don't want. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Oh!
Burning.
Done. Is it inside?
A little bit. Keep that out of there.
I can't see it.
Excitement. We're going to reduce this now. We're going to reduce that oxygen from the atmosphere like we were talking about. Come to Papa. Spirit vessel. Beautiful. Currently, we have shows in Arizona right now, at the Tucson, Arizona, at the Known and the New. Ted and I have recently been selected as new glass artists, along with, I believe there's 18 other well-known artists throughout the world to exhibit down there. Currently, in the collections, there's Queen Marguerite of Denmark.
Margaret of Denmark in her personal collection.
And also the Premier of Alberta.
Former premier.
Former Premier.
He's out.
Okay.
Mr. Getty.
And it just sort of goes into a lot of people's personal collections throughout. They're being recognized throughout the world, and you know, because they, for some people, they have a lot more meaning than just the actual Anasazi depictions. The characteristics of the glass having its transparency and translucency, different values of light hitting the surface versus inside gives them so many different dimensions that it brings them alive in a lot of different ways. So it's finding a lot of different places in homes, not necessarily just based on the primitive, well, the Native Americans' concept and designs.